If you want to never fail, there's literally one proven way. And I will share that with us in this video from a logical perspective and then exactly what I've went through and seen in my life. And now I know the framework for literally every single scenario into the future, which is a crazy, crazy claim. So with that, let's get into it. Imagine you basically are trying to do something. And that something maybe, let's say, hey, you have this product, whether it's a drop shipping product or some type of, service that you're just trying to sell. And let's say you have a landing page, a website or an app or some way to get, marketing out there to potential customers who just don't know you today. Then they get to know a little more about what you have to offer. And if they're sold on, let's say, the idea, then they can go ahead and exchange their dollars for basically this product or service. And if you multiply this with enough profit margin over the longer term, then basically it's a profitable business, all else equal, if the inflow in terms of revenue is greater than the cost. So I explain all of this to say what? Everything so far seems pretty common sense. But over the path of just the journey of trying to make this work, there's a lot of people who just fail, or whatever failure is to them. Maybe that's not getting the amount of sales they wanted, but maybe getting a little, short of that. Or maybe they're just losing money, right? Hemorrhaging money, funds in general towards this business idea that's just not working out. Or maybe they're so successful, but again, it's their internal type of thing of what is success to them. So it's failing from their perspective. In the end of the day, whatever result you want, right? Like, let's just say it's only two parties that really say what success is. It's external and there's internal. So the one proven way to never fail from an external perspective is if people literally are like, wow, like that's a pretty successful outcome. And how do you get these successful outcomes? If it's just pretty much, right? Like if you have this site and something you're selling or whatever, right? You're basically trying to peddle a product, right? Just like anything in this world today, right? Like even this video is basically an ask for attention from a YouTube perspective to keep folks on the platform so they watch ads such that, the platform makes money, sure, the creator makes money. And obviously, hopefully there's value on the viewer side, which is why I'm making this video to say that the one way to basically never fail is from an external perspective is to just know who the other party is and how they can support you get to that successful outcome. So if you've heard the phrase, your network is your net worth, then basically if you need a situation to succeed from an external perspective, usually this same product or service that you have, imagine now it being on the homepage of Amazon.com, just an example, or the homepage of Google. Imagine if that had like one placement below the Google search bar. Just imagine, right? Like how many people just hit that homepage and if they saw your product. So I'm not saying this is a guaranteed result, but even a few layers down, you could still get insane traffic without spending on advertisements or, just all these social media ads to get people to know about the thing, but then maybe or maybe not convert, right? So what does that mean in English? That means, like I said, your network is your net worth from an external perspective. And then the inverse of that is an internal perspective where if you never want to fail, you also just need to know yourself, your barometer for, okay, like, hey, this is success, this is fail. And maybe it's not a gray 0 or 1 binary type of outcome, but it's also like, all right, if I'm okay with it, then I've succeeded. Even if the whole world says you failed and the whole world says you've succeeded, but you yourself look in the mirror and can't answer, hey, am I happy? Am I content? Am I blah, blah, blah with the success? Then what? Then that also is a failure, right? So in the end, the one way to never fail is just those two things. It's so simple. And it's all in someone's head. There's a beautiful video I watched which made this even more clear, where basically it was like, memories are basically what? Memories are just us remembering something. And usually if it's negative, we remember, all right, let's never forget this negative scenario or this outcome, because guess what? That means like, something bad could happen again. So we have these, kind of unfortunately traumatic type of memories, or just thinking of just like how things were or are otherwise. And when things are super positive, like it's of course great to remember the positive moments, and that positive, kind of experience may push you to do positive things to then get another positive outcome, right? It makes perfect sense. But as they also say, like humans, usually the fear of loss is more than the fear of gain. And I would say that's basically fundamentally, there's different theories and schools of thought on this, right? But if you look at just reproduction or just becoming more in terms of humans, like, make more humans, right? The suffering of how hard it is to make another human like hundreds of years ago is very different from what it is today. Where years ago, maybe the conditions weren't appropriate. Maybe it's, just the environment. Maybe it is diet, accessibility to just clean water and like all those things, right? And then now, fast forward, we have an abundance of just the basics in more developed countries. But now people have other problems where it's societal created, maybe stress or other things. So whether it's labor, that's stress induced labor, if you've ever heard of this, from a pregnancy perspective, that's like due to stress. Maybe there's earlier kind of due dates because of that stress, or the inverse of that, right? Where it's like, they basically just call it premature kind of birth, but maybe there's like perfect on time birth, and maybe there's after the fact too. But at least birth is happening, right? But it's being impacted, even though it seems like seemingly we have all the resources. But do we or not is, the interesting question, because technically we do. But man, oh man, that actual human kind of, at that DNA kind of cellular level, like it has its own system going on. And so even if we're supporting, if it's not working out, then it is what it is. So in the end, to succeed, I would say that success is the virtue of oneself. Or if you care about external success, in other words, if you do it for validation, fame, just other people kind of giving you that, like, hey, like you're doing a good job, buddy, a pat on the back. There's the 5 love languages, which, you can Google it, but basically there's like acts of service, acts of kindness, and like stuff like this, right? So service, kindness, same thing in this case, where maybe you appreciate, somebody literally helping you, your partner, in this case, as a love language, versus just giving you gifts. And so, like, hey, it's $1,000, multi-$1,000 Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Bulgari, Dolce Gabbana, Prada, whatever type of product. But to me personally, if you give this to me, I'll go try to resell it because I don't care enough, even if it's from my partner. But my partner would never buy it because they know that my love language isn't this, these gifts and stuff. Because I get it, why some people care and why they, attribute value to it, but to each their own. Because in the end, service to me is they're spending their time, the most priceless resource, to then support me with their own time, which is like crazy to me. Where the other things, because money to me and gifts equate 1-to-1 in this perspective with all these luxury goods and, kind of Veblen goods as they call them, it's like whatever, dude, you know what I mean? So to succeed, it's all in someone's head. Like in the end, what is it? We're all human. We're on this earth. We're surviving, and we've come this far. And there's some developed nations, some not. But as a human race, we've basically come a long way from where we did just a few hundred years ago. And although our lifespan, isn't, let's say, 200 years just yet, humans weren't living past the age of, let's say, 40, 45, not too long ago, just a few hundred years ago. So there's different things, what you call success. And it's all going to be so subjective that what does it really matter? It doesn't, because it just doesn't. So it's all made up. It's all in someone's head. But how to succeed, if you want to do it, it's going to be who you know. And if you bet on yourself and you're like, I don't care about anyone, but it's a personal thing and that's the only way you succeed, then bet on yourself, make it happen and do it. And if you fail, then it's all in your head, because at least you took the steps to have momentum to then take more steps to then try and then fail and then get up and do it all over again. And I think that's success in its own regard, because you are not running away from failure. You're still running towards success. Thanks for coming to the end. See you in the next one. Peace.